Good afternoon, good evening, good night. I don't. What, welcome to another free enterprise Adamant Cup group round match between these two runners, Galeswift and A Stone Dingley. This is going to be a great match, and I don't know how it happened that I'm co-commentating again with Ripon. They must have loved it. So leave it. Say hi to the folks, Ripon.
Hi there, folks, and hi, Deathlike. How's it going?
Been pretty good.
Well, I'm doing great too, but even greater because we get to watch this fantastic matchup between Galeswift and A Stone Dingley, two of the favorites, in my opinion, coming out of the Karate Gi group. A few things about both of these players. I think Stone Dingley, if you look at bracketology, is the clear favorite for the Karate Gi group, but don't count out Galeswift. Galeswift has done a lot of practice on these flags, has worked very hard coming out of the Pink Puff League, I think finishing 8th in the last season overall, but I've seen Galeswift take down, titans of free enterprise like Pankraz and Flurry and Antidale in some of the practice acings and pickup races we've had leading up to this tournament. So I'm expecting this to be a great and very tight match.
Yeah, we'll probably see some smart routing and some brutal efficiency in our checks. I mean, the time saved is time used for something more important, and you might be able to save enough time to save from a play that didn't work out. So it should be interesting. We get to start with the Porum, lovable white mage. Probably might be swapped up for, but we're guaranteed the white mage until we yeet her. With the objectives at hand, some nice clumped up ones with Baron Castle and a giant visit. So with some vanilla altar, so Darkness Crystal, Baron Key, with some guaranteed music to round off our objective list.
Yep, with only 4 key items required for go mode in this particular seed, we could see that fabled sub-hour seed. We have the white mage. If we find the sufficient damage, or maybe an early Fu, maybe an early adamant armor, we could be done, before 6:30 Eastern at least, which would be at least the fastest Adamant Cup group stage that I've seen thus far. But of course, it could still be a bit of a slog too. We're looking for 4 key items rather than some of the 7, 8, 9 key item requirements of these flags, and they could be hidden up on the moon, behind a nasty little sealed cave, or behind Feymarch. Only time will tell.
Yeah, and if seeds can linger on as if there's you get extended chains or even multiple chains, and that might lead into nothing. So sometimes acting on a particular chain could be detriment or would reward the player. So it can swing either way. With a Tella to be partnered and a Luca key, so it'll be a while before we take advantage of that. But we'll be likely see, if not our first stop, the second stop to Troya Castle to check on Bedward for a free key item.
Yeah, with these 2 sturdy characters, you have a Porum, you have a Tella. You may not want to head straight to Evelyn Castle in your first or even second check, because a lot of the items you can pull from that particular location are geared toward character that we simply don't have right now. So yeah, agree, we'll likely see a Bedward play relatively early. Or I guess in the Galeswift, Galeswift is just going straight on down to Evelyn Castle. Maybe trying to spike something nice like an arty bow, a heroine robe, something like that for Porum. Meanwhile, a Stone Dingley heading up to Watery Pass. A check we don't normally see in this flag set. You do have generally the same level of loot from Watery Pass as you will find from Evelyn Castle without the risk of finding trap chests. Now, the chests are also more spread out. They're not as dense as you would normally find in Evelyn Castle, so it takes a little while to loot this place, but with that Tella, it's actually not a bad play. You can exit out once you're done with it. And Stone Dingley rewarded pretty quickly with a heroine robe.
And a white robe to follow, so we will have a mock white mage in Tella. I mean, you're kind of doubling his effective spell power with that white robe, as he starts with only 16. So another 15 will it's good enough for the early game. And with Porum probably might have to carry the load. Did I just see a cursed ring? That surely will be invaluable, especially when it comes to the end game, where we need to have some kind of important agility manipulation in our favor.
Yep, Galeswift has found all 3 trap chests in Eblin, but A Stone Dingley's really been rewarded with its watery path play, finding that cursed ring, finding a black belt, a heroine robe, a white robe. Stone Dingley's looking pretty good and entering Hobbs now.
Yeah, should be safe. I mean, with Porum, with getting immediate attack multiplier boost of 3 when you have the heroine robe, you're almost guaranteed to have increased attack power of 3, which is equivalent to the Adamant. If you get it, Power Robe gives you 2, and we find a Radia with the Baron Guards. This shouldn't be too long. It might be slowed down because the guards like to counter.
Yep, they like to counter, and unfortunately, we're not one-shotting them even with the power of that heroine robe. Down goes Tella, and now it's down just to the 2 little girls to handle this situation. Is going to be rough. May want to toss that Grimoire or Boreas or something like that to get through this fight quicker. And Leviathan will do it.
Yeah, Grimoire. There's a lot of attack summons that are useful. I think the only one that doesn't show up is Azora and a lot of the other monster summons, which don't usually contribute. I think maybe Bomb might occasionally be useful, but no, that's just a single target demist. No, that you probably won't really care about. And nice Soma drop to round up Galeswift's Evelyn Castle check. So Tella might get it unless we get a Fu, which right now the MP increase not needed now. We'll just keep getting it. He'll decide to get the character like Stone Dingley just did, and that's something.
Yep, so we have a little bit of equipment divergence here. Stone Dingley had that heroine robe, very powerful. Galeswift found a few powerful items of his own while looting Evelyn Castle. Found a protect ring, a crystal ring, a glass hat, mostly defensive equipment here, but could prove to be a difference here. I would probably give the looting edge, however, to a Stone Dingley. The heroine robe, very powerful. A few other very nice items that he received as well from Watery Pass, so that gamble paid off today.
I think, in at least with T Wildish on, the Watery Pass is a lot more lucrative. If you don't want to like spend time on the resets at Evelyn Castle, that it becomes a lot more appealing. It probably might not be as appealing when we get to bracket stage, but for now it's a good place to loot, and it makes sense given Wildish can loot up. Currently we're capped at tier 7, and we get a Bahamut at the Antlion spot.
Galeswift also throw that Grimoire up on Hobbs, gets a Shiva. Not as good as Leviathan, but still good enough to get the job done. So Galeswift through there, and this Bahamut should be of little trouble. This spot, very slow in agility. That Porum, very fast with that heroine robe on. Plenty of opportunity to whittle down the 1,000 HP here before Bahamut learns how to count down to 1.
Yeah, with the heroine robe, with the massive agility increase, with the overworld bosses, basically Porum has control over the battle. She'll get more turns, which in turn will allow her to do more damage. And hey, the required music, we found it.
Yep, we are 1/4 of the way to go mode. We just need 3 more key items. And we're seeing a check here on Galeswift's side we don't normally see, which is getting rid of a free summon over here at the front of Hobbs. Who is it today?
Hey, free random death if you like gambling with instant death especially with the bosses that do not have the boss bit or trap treasure chests. Like there's no instant death check. It just has to kind of roll your way. The biggest early problem is Radia's wisdom, which is required for Odin to appear, and the other check on top of that is the 50-50 check, where it just decides to fail, which in many cases is the real gamble, and will effectively kind of reduce your overall effectiveness significantly. But hey, once in a while, when it works, it works.
Sure. If you feel lucky that Odin can pull off some very nice boss fights, take care of Darkins for you, for example, maybe the Kaipo guards, anything that's potentially vulnerable to instant death, maybe the back of the Calcabranas. But I'm not sure if we'll get too much use of it on this seed. Only time will tell. But Galeswift is retracing the steps of A Stone Dingley, finishing up Antlion right now. A Stone Dingley, I believe, checked Bedward. I don't believe we found a key item there, however, correct?
I don't believe so. But that's okay. We'll be good. Regardless, I mean, we'll eventually there's a fair chance maybe Harp will take us there. We don't know quite yet, but we'll see what Stone Dingley was going to face on the Fabul fight. This spot is kind of interesting, as it normally has the gauntlet, or for this flag set the alt gauntlet, but hey, this little star thing, and hey, D-Lunars is our boss. Shouldn't be too long. We're just gonna cast magic for them to run into the ground.
Yep, D-Lunars, yeah, you definitely don't want to hit them. There is, I believe, about 2,000 HP at this spot, it's a little more perhaps, so each one has about 1,000 HP. Healing them down may be, in fact, the correct course of action, maybe throwing Cure 2 at them. You know, it's a form of martial art, I've heard. But this should not be too difficult of a fight for A Stone Dingley. We're getting a second Reprise the Bedward, it's a Gungnir, not exactly something we're too excited to find.
I mean, if we find an edge, we could repurpose it if a king doesn't show up, and that's okay. We're still looking for a fourth character to round off and we're probably more, I think, at least given what we have so far, we might want to look for a replacement, maybe for the Rydia or the Porum if we find a Rosa. Depends. Oh, and a pass. So no worries about traversing through the LST and exiting out. We can go directly to Zeromus once we have the crystal.
Yep, it's not exactly one of the 4 key items we need for Go mode, but it's not something you are too unhappy to find. And now here we are looking at the blue planet. But meanwhile, on Galeswift's side, Galeswift is taking care of a bit of selling, trying to avoid that eventual inventory boss. And I assume we'll likely be taking care of Fabul shortly afterwards if he decides to route similar to Stone Dingley.
I think the likely thing Stone Dingley would do would probably go to Baron, get the key item check and the character check. That is usually the follow-up, and then or we could just go directly to Mount Ordeals to get his Tela online. I mean, with Tela, you want all the spells. I mean, yes, we give him the utility mage title. He's great early on with the early exit, but to really unlock him, having his spell list online is of vital importance, and it's worth the time to climb Mount Ordeals and do 3 bosses with the key item check.
Well, looks like Galeswift is heading up Fabul, but I agree. With the amount of power that a Stone Dingley had, and we're having a little bit of technical difficulties on his end, we'll see if we can get him back up. However, yeah, with that heroine robe, with the really the angry child that is Porum in the situation, if you have enough power to get through Baron, it's a check I like doing prior to Ordeals. The character check is great. It's quicker than Ordeals. Ordeals is kind of a trendy fade in this flag set. Especially if you don't have a Tela, we do have a Tela, or a Cecil Insight.
Yeah, I think it's interesting trade because the slog is really essentially not a literal gauntlet, but a gauntlet of 3 bosses, and only 2 of them provide the experience. Usually, and it makes sense, and I agree with the idea of trying to go to Baron, get your character, and essentially carry the character to Mount Ordeals to gain all the experience, unless we want them to be the anchor. But right from now, it's something's going on.
Hey, everybody. Yep, okay, this thing is working. Hey, this is Moonblaze Wolf. I'm the administrator helper who is kind of overseeing this race. Just want to let everybody know what is going on. Stone Dingley, about 10 minutes into the race, I think everybody just saw, had an emulator crash. Notified us in the race room. We were able to reach out to Galeswift, who is running on the other side. It did take a few minutes. By rule, the way that works is Gale is allowed to accept or decline the offer of re-rolling the seed. Gale did accept, then we are going to re-roll the seed and we're going to start the race over again. There is going to be a bit of a delay. Let me just check on... looks like they restarted about 13 minutes ago. So... yeah, there's going to be a little bit of a wait here, but then we will bring them back and we will have a full race again on that re-rolled seed. So thank you for your patience. I'm going to go ahead and get out of the way now and let you get back to hearing your excellent commentators today. Thank you.
Well, that's exciting. I wonder if we're going to see too much of a difference in their routing the second time around. Unfortunate to see, of course, a emulator crash on anybody's side. And very gracious of Galeswift to accept the reroll, because I mean, no one wants to win via technicality or through technical difficulties or anything like that. But yeah, now that we've had a little bit of a little bit of practice, about 10 minutes worth of practice for both players, we get to see the real deal. Now we're going to have a different set of objectives. I'm sure we may have different openers, different starters. So yeah, that whole 4 key item to go mode, potential sub-hour seed, we may not see that again.
That's unfortunate about the seed having that but having any sort of technical difficulties happening, especially with the emulator crashing, is very unfortunate. Usually an emulator crash takes the save file that goes with it, so any progress may be lost, which is why this is kind of devastating for when it happens. So things happen. We're not so worried about it. It certainly will take at least, I think we're still going to have the 15-minute delay, so we'll be at least waiting 15 minutes for the start of the new seed. Well, for probably start a little bit, discussing the new objectives beforehand.
Yep, again, great sportsmanship from Galeswift, and we'll be taking a break until that seed is ready to go. So we'll be going back to music, but don't go anywhere. The stream will continue running, and we'll see you in a little bit.
Welcome back to Free Enterprise. Yes, that delay, that whatever which happened was unfortunate, and we get to pretend that seed didn't happen, and now we are getting even more enjoyment from our seed with an Edward start. How about that?
Yeah, if I was Stone Dingley and Galeswift, I'd be like, could we go back to the previous seed, please? I don't want to start with an Edward. I don't even know where you go with a starting Edward, other than Bedward, potentially to pull a spoon, but it's not a whole lot you can pull from, places like from Castle Eblin or other high-tier loot places to make that Edward usable. So it's really going to be dictated, I suppose, by our starting partner. But we also have a new set of objectives. What do you think about these?
Well, there's only one real objective on the moon, that's just cave value. But we also have we have both tail trade-ins, so that's going to be a lot of fun. So that means required hook, and I think we're looking for some punishment because hook seed with a starting Edward. But maybe let's just will a spoon in existence just for enjoyment. Hey,
Martin said, "You can't leave me behind. Here I am."
we get to loot early. This is a great time.
Yeah, forget everything I said earlier. Don't worry about where you go where to go to loot for this particular seed. We know exactly where we're going. We're going to Troya.
Yeah, and we'll eventually make into Zot after Baron Inn or Mount Ordeals as you know. Unless we get the spoon early, the ETA to Edward Yeat is pretty much online. I mean, was hoping for, like, say, twin Edward start. That would have been amusing, but Porum, Porum's not going away because we love Porum. Some people prefer Confidence for Porum, then that's okay.
Yeah, Porum gets way too much shade in this community, I think. I mean, she's at least the 7th best white mage in the entire game.
Yeah, we're also being fed the rat tail from Bedward. That is good. And hey, it's that time to rate that treasury.
The 2 power shirts. I saw a crystal ring, an arty bow, glass hat, headband. Solid 7 out of 10, maybe an 8 out of 10. We actually could turn either Porum or Edward into fighters now with that arty bow, power shirt, and headband. We just need some arrows.
How about why not just do both? we got the power, we got the Artemis bow on top of that power for either of them, and probably better on Edward because we do want the Porum to stay to heal up as needed. But if at an emergency, I don't think, although this early in the game we're probably using Cure 2 potions, but you want your white mage to do white mage things, and looks like Stone Dingley is doing some additional, which will fetch a nice wizard robe. But I think you might want to just empower both of them at the same time. Why not? You've got the equipment. You might as well until you find another character that would better benefit from the second power robe.
Now it's very interesting that both of our runners are routing this exactly the same. I think Galeswift is ahead by about 2 seconds right now, and that is absolutely nothing. So, yeah, step for step, these 2 runners are routing very similarly, doing what I would believe to be the traditional and correct routing based on what you've been starting, but it'd be interesting to see who goes where immediately after this. Do you go to a Hobbs early? Do you go just check that rat tail immediately? Thank you, Bedward, for having something of use today.
Can't quite check without the hook, but that's okay. We'll do that as soon as we get the hook. Probably the first check. Once in a while it turns into the pigtail and nice convenient check. Can happen, not always. I think the interesting thing was Stone Dingley bought bandanas, if I'm not mistaken, which means that we're guaranteed. I think we're looking more towards full berserkers. Regardless of maybe once Atella shows up or Fu, everyone's going to punch their weight with the starting equipment. At least 2 characters will be the berserkers, so guaranteed that you add on to it with some bandanas for the extra strength to increase that attack multiplier.
Notably, though, they both have 2 headbands apiece too, so the bandanas, well, maybe Stone Dingley thinking, maybe I want 3 berserkers, maybe I want 4 berserkers.
I put more value in the headbands only for the charm protection, as there are some bosses where charm will devastate a party, like Sandy when Cindy's gone, or the evil large Calbrenna who still haunts me. It's a scary doll, and I'd like a bed light, maybe. I don't know about you, but the evil dolls are still scary, and they can make your character pretty miserable. If you're allowed to let it show up in the Calbrenna fight.
Yeah, hopefully our runners today avoid that should we encounter Calcabrena, but not here. We find a Rosa, and that is very happy. We finally have an adult for these 2 children that we've been taking around. I know Edward's supposed to be a grown man, but come on, he can't even equip a Zeus gauntlet. Rosa will benefit well from having access to a power shirt, from an arty bow, If she did start with arrows, which we may find out eventually, she could end up being our early game offense. This Antline, though, still needs to get through when we want to actually claim this superior white name.
Antline, not on its daily moon journey. Apparently it decided, let's move over to the mountains instead of living in the cave that it normally lives in. But that's okay. I think right now we're guaranteed to go to Zot since we have the Earth Crystal. So Pora might, depending on what characters we get, Pora might not be in this party too much longer. So, but if we do keep the Pora, it may be worthwhile to make her the designated punch mage at this point. Not quite not Yang, but like give her the bow and arrow, let her do all the damage, let Rosa do healing duties. I mean, we have the Artemis, so accuracy not a problem to keeping our multipliers useful.
If there's one person who knows about turning Porum into a punch mage, it would be Free Enterprise runner Sorbius, who, well, we'll leave that story for a different time. Regardless, we finally have some arrows, Medusa arrows, not exactly the arrows you want to be using when you're trying to power through the early game, but rather low attack rate, but has its niche uses. Interesting that Galeswift is leaving all of this very powerful attack gear on Porum rather than transferring it to the Rosa, who had the aim ability. But clearly he knows something. But also interesting is how, just step for step, Galeswift and Stone Dingley have routed this exactly the same. I'm not sure if they copy each other's strategies or they are just they practice together a whole lot or not, but it's very interesting. There's been no deviation through the first 7 minutes of this race.
Yeah. So we get. I thought it was gonna be Mylon Z, but no, it's Mylon with dance with a dance party. So the one thing we obviously like aim, but you want to ideally keep Rosa outside of the middle slot, as when she uses aim, her accuracy as its max value, which is not 99, it's actually 255, which practically guarantees full accuracy. But when you were adding the additional accuracy bonus gained in the middle slot, unfortunately, overflow happens and it gets rounded back down to some really low number, and an undesirable number that is less than 99, which can cause her to miss, and you don't want Rosa to miss with aim. That's just it's kind of doesn't work.
Yeah, it's kind of counter to the name of the ability. Get rewarded with a Murasame from completing Antlion Cave. Facing that both Stone Dingley and Galeswift will walk it out. There could potentially be an edge out there waiting at Baron Inn, waiting at the top of the Tower of Thought. That will eventually be the benefactor of that weapon. But from where do we go from this location? Do we head to Baron Inn? Do we feel like we have enough power for that? Do we go climbing up that? Do we go to Fabul Castle and defend it to get that full heal?
It could be an idea to just do do the Baron Inn, pick up the character, try to defer, but looks like Stone Dingley is doing straight to Fabul to just do that battle quickly. It's not that much stronger than the bomb spot. So I think in terms of progression, it's kind of a standard move, given that assuming that you didn't have all that great equipment early on from the Earth Crystal. I mean, some people will consider rerouting because you had all this good stuff, but you want to try to get it on the character to get them online and be the powerhouse to kind of weather the seed.
So we're seeing something interesting here. We are getting that Artemis bow shifted over to Rosa. Porum, however, gets a samurai bow in response, and we are now making Rosa the powerful archer that she normally is. Porum taking a backseat for the time being. Power Shirt, however, seems to be moving from Edward down to Porum, and she'll be pew-pewing that way herself for this upcoming Maga Sister fight. Now, both Stone Dingley and Galeswift very wise, picking up a few stacks of mute arrows. So yeah, all three of these sisters, in their name, Maggot Sisters, are mages. So down they go relatively quickly.
Yeah, having various arrows, particularly the ones that are either elemental or that take advantage of racial weaknesses, are important when you are using a bow and arrow, as you'll make the most of the damage. Bows and arrows by themselves aren't that. I think the arrows are the more important ones, but the bows dictate the accuracy. And when you have a character like Porum, any accuracy, especially an upper tier bow, is very important. As if you don't have near perfect accuracy, your attack multiplier kind of disappears. And for certain battles, like if Val showed up in this group, you'll be having difficulties. But since we have a Rosa, a lot of these things are kind of practically cured, and it looks like Stone Dingley wants to trek up the mountain, which is certainly a valid choice. Maybe get a few more levels, try to get Berserk online for the next fight.
And rewarded both Stone Dingley and Galeswift for completing Fabul Defense, rewarded with a pan. So many of us tried to get that fabled single dip Fabul, but that was not happening today. You are always going to have to do Fabul defense in order to get that pan and set up Sheila too. So good on both of our runners for just butting the bullet, taking care of Fabul defense. And again, the chase continues. No deviation in routing between our two runners. Galeswift just hot on the heels of a Stone Dingley heading up Fabul right now, where they will both encounter Odin.
Well, this is not a fast spot. The magic is still high enough that that Odin can still one-shot them, but I don't think it'll get there. And even if that is the case, Edward can hide. Very important command in Edward's command set allows him to literally disappear from battle and show up when things calm down. And this, although I think it should be enough DPS to take down Odin, and yes, for Stone Dingley, it happens. I mean, you have power shirts and you got decent bows. You're more than enough to take down this Odin. Probably worth saving, but nope, we're just going straight to the next battle. And here we find a Chu man.
Yep, so karate here, not very difficult, but we do get to see the kick around the world because of the way that karate's over there on the wrong side of the screen. They have a really programmed kick from that particular side of the screen, so we get to see, our favorite monk take a little bit of a trip, but he'll also be taking a trip down this mountain relatively quickly because, hey, he does not have the HP to handle all of these arrows hitting straight to his face.
Yeah, and there's the fade, and the thing, and it's also fun that if Odin's on the spot, the same thing happens with Odin's Zenzuken attack, the sword swing, and yes, so we have our source of exit on Porum. Although this mountain doesn't like any sort of warp or exit. You're gonna have to walk down the mountain. There are some towns and places that block it. So not useful right for this very moment, but still very useful if we decide to keep Porum around.
And for the time being, we will, but what key item do we get up here on Mount Ordeals? Appears to be an Adamant. So again, we are still searching for our underground access. Only two places it can be right now, either behind Baron Inn or the Tower of Zot. So if you're in Stone Dingley or Galeswift shoes, where do you head?
At least do Baron first before Zot. I think that's the difficulty in Baron Inn. We want the fourth character before we want to figure out the two additional characters on Zot for yeeting purposes. You have to. It's worth to see what your characters are, and the key item and the Baron Inn spot is just as valuable as the top of Mount Ordeal. So I think you'd probably want to do it in the order of difficulty if I were either of them.
Yeah, I agree. It'd probably be easier to climb up that tower with a fourth character in tow, even though there's two characters behind Tower of Zot, both of which could be one of our restricted characters, Fu or Cecil, both of which would have an instant spot in either one of these parties. You can still find someone of decent value, decent use, utility down Baron Inn. Could be an Edge, could be a Tella, could be a second Edward, which we're not hoping for. Well, I kind of am.
I mean, for the sake of interest, that would be a lot of fun. But probably, you at best you're gonna keep one Edward, even if the remaining item is a spoon. Like there are not really that many uses for two Edwards. There are some uses for two Porums, two Rosas, two of many characters is sometimes a little not necessary, but Edward kind of on the top of a lot of lists. And we're another mage, and this time at least an easy CPU fight because we don't have to choose through a lot of HP here.
And we finally have a bit of divergence. Stone Dingley doing what you would suggest, heading down to Baron Inn and finding that Palom, finding that CPU. We'll find out who's in slot number 2 for bosses shortly, but Galeswift saying, you know what? I'm going up Zot. I feel like I have enough power. And he might. He's got that Artibo Rosa. He's got the ability to cast Berserk. He may just be able to get through this relatively quickly. And the good news, at least in regards for this routing, is that finishing Zot drops you off in front of Baron. So you limited your travel time a little bit by taking this option.
Yeah, it's certainly a very intelligent play. Yeah, I mean, when you know you have the power, and with the early power shirts, it makes a lot of sense to take advantage. You get the power bows. When you get a samurai bow or an Artemis bow on top of the power shirts, you're not really too worried. I think you might be concerned maybe at the Val spot. The Magus spot not too punchy. There's still a few bosses that might be a nuisance, but the magic spot isn't too bad, isn't too high. I think it's the combined HP that'll kind of be a bit tanky, but still within like quad 9 range of enough HP to take down if that were available. So it might be it could be slow going. It depends on who is at this spot.
Well, notably, this spot also extremely slow. Rosa with that Artie bow should have an easy time outspeeding what should be Mylon Z, because we've already seen Mylon with friends. Not a very punchy spot as he suggested. This will be a relatively quick fight for Rosa and Galeswift's party. Meanwhile, Stone Dingley finished up over there in Baron Inn, was rewarded with a package, which is a requirement. It's one of our 7 objectives, but also a gated item, a gated character check. Could be a Fu, could be a Cecil that could speed up your Tower of Zot quite a bit.
Probably worth deviating to at least check there before going to Zot. If we like the character, then yeah, it's worth taking. And Stone Dingley is going to do that. I think it's certainly worth a check if it's who we think we want it to be. Great. We're going to also might as well do some shopping. We don't think we've found a curse ring yet, so worth at least even checking that, or maybe finding some better arrows available. Looks like an Ice Claw. We haven't seen a Yang yet, or even an Edge. Oh, here it is. But here is our offense. Because we have a randomizer, we can randomize what the bomb comes out, and it happens to be Octo Mammoth. It's everywhere. It's on fire too.
So Stone Dingley took a little bit of a gamble here. He didn't save before he went in to burn the Village Myth with a package. I'm pretty sure he's going to sit through the cutscene in Kaipo for this Edge, but if it was a character you didn't want, if a duplicate Edward was here, we also have to turn into Sand Ruby, so he was going to have to be forced to sit through that cutscene regardless. So in a way, lucking out a little bit here, finding this Edge, a character that he's actually going to want.
Yeah, I mean, we definitely want to complete it, and yeah, it's gating, literally checking the Sand Ruby, yeah, and not having saved beforehand, completing it is kind of a must. Or you could put it off, but I think it looks like, there was some shopping done, and I presume there may be some more attempts to look for shopping And for Galeswift, Kane. It is its vanilla spot in the in Zot, but also a Sid who also took both and yeeted the Edward. I mean, yeah, we haven't found the spoon yet, and you know what? What that meme that follows the yeeting Edward is, there probably is a spoon following up very soon, if not after this Val spot fight, and we are going to see it's a buy again.
Well, I guess not too bad here. This is not a fun spot. It's a very speedy spot. A very high magic spot, but the melee power, nothing too threatening. Galeswift should be through here and be done with his first objective momentarily. Meanwhile, A Stone Dingley has to fight for that edge. Turns out to be Leviathan. Nothing too difficult for him, and we'll be having a ninja in Stone Dingley's party very shortly.
I think it's probably Edward that's getting the boot. Let's defer that to maybe Yeet a Porum right now. I don't think Rosa has yet learned Berserk. One of the things that Porum does learn a little ahead of Rosa at the same level is Berserk, but and we know we're probably gonna do Zot anyway. So if we eat Porum, we're definitely eating the Bard because we need that dagger too. I think that's best served to have the edge than the Edward that we're just only using for the dancing dagger, and that's it. I mean, Edge could do the same thing too. It's anyone who can equip the dancing dagger knife is more than capable of casting it. Not exciting, but hey, and I guess we're getting the Soma drop just in case for a Tella or Fu, which if you don't find it in the seed, worth buying.
Alright, and with that, Galeswift is through the Tower of Zot. As our tracker Warlink has pointed out, we have seen every single check here on the overworld, except for the key item resulting from the Tower of Zot, so this has to be our underground access or lead to it. Will it be a magma key or a hook?
It's the magma key, so hook will be to be found later. This is our access, so that's good. This also means probably a follow-up check would be going to Feymarch, getting the freak item. Oh no, we're here because hey, we also want the character check too, which I don't think that resulted anything of particular value. The package. So certain essentially also a required check while we're here at Baronin.
Yep, very exceptional value from package. So good on Galeswift. Good for Galeswift to not leave this check behind. I'm sure he will be very happy to see that edge as well should he decide to check the package, and likely sit through the cutscene too, having both a longsword and a Murasame available to him before heading to Underground. And at that point, I think we'll see very similar parties. We'll likely see a combination of Rosa, Kane, Edge, and one of the twins or Sid, likely probably Hallam if I were in their situation. Just having access to black magic can be useful in certain situations, and he's relatively easy to turn into an anchor as well.
I mean, it's a fair thing to eat Porum for the Palom. I mean, you already have the white mage. You've already done Zot on Galeswift's side, so it probably makes sense. And it looks like Stone Dingley taking a small detour for the Flame Dog, of course.
This can pay off big.
Yeah, I think let's see what that comes down to. But not a very difficult fight. Fairly easy. And well, we got a ribbon, not in its vanilla chest spot. Always a good try for something. Ribbon still valuable because resisting instant death or petrification is still very good with the mage resistance. Often most useful versus Jura that's still left on the board. We've already fought Mega Sisters, so and still very probably one of the best high magic defense helmets in the game.
Sure, Ribbon is usually considered best in slot for many of the mages, not only for the defense that it gives, but also for the instant death protection. Makes Golbez or other instant death type bosses relatively simple. Probably not the item Stone Dingley was looking for there. An adamant armor, a crystal or Excalibur, or even an Avenger would be far more impactful, but take what you can get, and petting the flame doggo isn't too bad of a check here. Relatively quick for Stone Dingley, so he is up a ribbon, and hopefully that may come into use for him in the near future. Galeswift, however, finished up Baron Inn, appears to be slightly ahead, did not check that package, however, does not have that edge, so does not have knowledge of that edge being available to him. Interesting call, because it is a gated character check. It could have been a Fu, it could have been a Cecil. So I wonder if we'll see Galeswift double back to check that relatively soon, or he's just deciding that my party is good enough. Let me go down underground and take care of objectives down there.
I mean, there is another character check at the Dwarf Castle. Might be worthwhile. I mean, in terms of the routing, you just package into Sandworthy. But if you don't, that's assuming you don't. I think probably should be fairly happy with. What he has. I mean, you probably want to do something with the Porum at best. It looks like, and maybe with the double White Mage, you're not really concerned about anything you're facing. I mean, if your Berserkers are doing the work, you don't need a Pelham to do something about quaking, but your Berserkers might be fast enough. It looks like, oh nope, we're still doing it. So yep, the package check will happen, likely to yeet Porum. We'll see if that happens.
Well, Galeswift saying, you know what? I don't want to sit through the package for the edge right now. I'm going underground, but at least he had that knowledge, and I'm glad he made that check. You leave that restricted character check on the table too long, you could fall behind significantly. Instead, deciding to leverage that pan that we got from Football Defense. So there are 3 key item checks waiting behind this chain at Sheila 1, Sheila 2, and at the pan bonk itself here in the Sylph Cave. Very smart routing here, maximizing the amount of key item checks he gets in a short amount of time, and could find a better lead than the underground checks available to him right now.
I don't think this will be a direct to Fabul right now. We will still bonk Yang's head, and then follow into Fey March, which is the next available thing, and then probably take on Dwarf Castle right after before going back up. I mean, unless we're really tempted to do Keyless Tower, doesn't look like what we want to do. And Zeus Gauntlet, very very good power piece of equipment for our Berserkers.
So Gales will drop you a save here. I think you could go check Sheila 1 and Sheila 2. And I really like this play, actually. I understand that traditionally you check your freebie, so you head down to Fey March after you trigger or set up Sheila 1, or vice versa. But we don't really have the power to take any of the bosses down in the Fey March right now outside of a select few. So if you spike something here that could give you power, maybe you spike a tier 8 adamant or something like that, or a better alternative like music, for example, then you follow that instead of heading down to Fey March. You delay that Fey March check and try to single dip it.
I could see that. I mean, it's still a chance, and we get Legend, so we guarantee an Excal if we want the white shirt. Still very useful. Still very useful for both white mages in his party. So not quite paying off because we don't have the forge check, but if we want to will a Cecil, then forge is not too far away, I think. But right now we're probably gonna go look for the we're doing forge. I guess we're gonna see dwarf. There it is. So yeah, we probably still want to hope. We're hoping for Cecil, so why not take our chances here? The difficulty shouldn't be too bad, although I don't remember who was at the Golbus spot. Do you remember, Rabam?
I can't say I remember, but I'm not surprised by this move from Galeswift here. With that forge in your pocket right now, you are on a hunt for Cecil. You will do every restricted character check you can, save maybe the giant, as quickly as you possibly can, because you have access to all the power you need. All you need the character to be able to wield it. So yeah, definitely dwarf right now, but also we'll be checking these shops, checking for buckets, wines, checking for potentially sirens. I would not be too surprised if we see Galeswift maybe take a detour down to Tamra, check for sirens down there. By doing so, you could pop a couple of them and make this dwarf castle check a whole lot easier.
Maybe a trip to a job dwarf, or in his room with the various treasure that may pay off for some payoff. We'll see. Right now, we are going to find turtle.
Yep, we found Kenazo. Now, this is a little bit of a gamble on Galeswift's side. By doing all that shopping that he had done in Dwarf Castle, but immediately taking the boss, if he takes a wipe here at Dwarf 1, all of that work that he just did over the last minute and a half will be lost, picking up the buckets mine, selling, and clearing out his inventory. So hopefully, for his sake, he doesn't take a wipe here. This Kenazo, a little punchy at this spot, but also will wipe about half of his party if he doesn't get a Zeus Rage or a Thor Rage or some kind of lightning spell off. I don't know if he had the capability to actually cast it right now, so we'll see in a moment.
There should be a fair bit of HP at the spot. So, and thanks Warlink tracker. It says demist at Golbez, so it shouldn't be too bad. The follow up right now, Kenazo gonna be a pain in our butts, but not enough HP to do reasonable damage. This is safe enough. Rosa doing work. Not sure which bow, even if it's samurai. Samurai Artemis probably do better, but either way, it still should be enough DPS with Porum helping to take down Kenazo, and already in shell phase. So yeah, not too worried. And with the follow-up demist, this shouldn't be too bad. Let Sid be a potion guy, because the chemists are still important.
Yep, throwing potions is the form of martial art, and Sid is very good at it. And good on Galeswift getting through that fight. As you mentioned, with demist at Dwarf 2 shouldn't be too much of a problem for him. And if this is a Cecil, I would expect to see a very quick deviation to Forge.
Yeah, let's see who that character is. There is demist, and let's see who the character. Oh, it's a Foo. That's a guaranteed Yeet Porum, right? Oh no, it's doing Sid. Okay, so yeah, this is looking towards Kane to be okay. The guy, and with mages, I guess maybe hoping for another character after this. This is a fairly good party, given that we have the power shirts. Yes, Kane has his, and Rosa or Porum will be the follow up doing bow and arrow work. I mean, this is more than enough, and I think we have some decent spells. Not quite nuke, but quite good enough for demist.
Yep, so this food came with a decent amount of power. The Quake is pretty good, and we could see nuke pop from this fight right here. I don't mind losing the Sid here, actually. I know people may have expected to eat the Porum, but Porum does still have utility, and sometimes you just play what the Seed gives you. What the Seed is giving you right now is mages. If you find Sirens, you could do something that people in the community call 30 Sirens and a Dream. And also, by the way, we just got that nuke. But regardless, 30 Sirens and a Dream, get your Porum, or go pick up that Palom again, get your Rosa to their white spell, their nuke spell, then you just cast your way through the remainder of the Seed rather than trying to berserk your way, which seems to be a little more popular of a strategy on this flag set. But yeah, you're getting mages right now. When the game gives you mages, you make Magenade.
Not sure what that would taste, but a lot of apples, both apples at the Forge shop. So if we do want Porum alive, maybe if we have some spare change, send them all up to buy some for Porum. Probably not. We might not really want to, or even have the time to spend. I don't think it's necessary. If Porum takes a nap, Z, that's okay. I'm not entirely sure. Oh no, Stone Dingley doesn't have Porum. I keep forgetting. But looks like shop not too interesting. I think Protect Rings are the best things available there. I don't remember the other item. Should be not a big deal. Looks like Gale is looking for what the key item is, and we'll pick the bosses. There are at the spots. The queen spot has a lot more magic power than the king spot. The king spot is a bit punchier, and hey, it's the darkness, so we are going to the moon very soon.
So Galeswift now has 2 additional restricted character checks available to him. In fact, 3, but I'm not going to count the giant because I don't think he's going to do the giant. However, yes, we have Baron Castle. We did pick up a Baron key from Dwarf Castle, and now the Lunar Dais up there on the LST. So very interested to see where Galeswift goes from here. Knowing that he had that forge still in his pocket, he may be trying to prioritize a check for a Cecil. Also, though there are 2 potentially free bosses down there in the Fey March, you may see Galeswift try to do both of these, assuming if his food potentially has or knows stone, for example, or if Hourglass 2s are for sale here, coffins as well.
Coffin for everyone. That's if I mean that should make the boss fight easy. I mean, both boss fights being not monsters without the boss bit. So I mean, with the dark imps on the right and the other Baron guards, the Kaipo guards. I mean, Kaipo guards on the left. So that should, those just take down the officer, and the soldiers punch themselves because they don't know what to do. Might as well punch themselves. Good time.
You get a coffin, and you get a coffin, and even you, Porum, you get a coffin too. But yeah, this should be a relatively easy single dip Fey March for Galeswift. If he had a little bit of difficulty, just throw a Protect Ring and a Glass Hat on Fu, back row him, and throw coffins with Fu. This is a bit of a punchy spot, but Rosa can take a hit, and we should be through this relatively quickly.
Yeah, looks like, someone, so who was taken out of Stone Dingley? Rosa was yeeted for the Fu. Interesting decision. That might, it's Rosa with, I would have yeeted a Sid, but maybe Sid is the anchor, and we need the magic now. I mean, they're still gonna be fully automated. Fu just primarily using Berserk and let them do the work. Sid gonna contribute a little, mostly potions, but that's an interesting decision. With the Rosa Yeet. I probably myself probably wouldn't think of doing that.
I'm a big fan of Stone Dingley's decision here. The Rosa is just redundant at this point. Sid can bring something to the table, which is being an anchor. He's not a perfect anchor anymore. He gained a few levels, unfortunately. So Fu will probably never be RA1 unless he's a recipient of that crystal ring that Stone Dingley likely has. But regardless, Rosa will not be able to fill that role, and we already have enough offense in that edge, in that cane. We're all about berserkers over here on Stone Dingley's side, likely picking up as many buckets as possible. Keg party on Stone Dingley's side right now. Galeswift looking to be a little bit of a more mage balance at the moment. Doesn't have a dedicated anchor. That Kane, unfortunately, not able to fill that role very well, which will make this upcoming DM fight a little more difficult. However, a little less punchy too. I don't believe that it's going to one-shot the Fu this time, one-shot the Rosa or anything like that. So should be able to get through this fight.
Yeah. I think in terms of getting through the seed, I don't think Galeswift with the more heavy mage-heavy party, it'd be fine. But I think maybe for a Z fight, might have to lean towards maybe just getting Rosa to white level and Porum doing the curing is what, at least because getting Porum to learn white takes a bit longer. Getting to learn, by the time Rosa learns Cure 4, Porum learns Cure 4. So that might be the way to go in this scenario. It looks like Kane is not getting. Kane probably needs to experience more, but it's fine. There will be other spots where the XP is desperately needed. Porum needs it to get online, and hey, there's Harp. Probably might be doing that before heading to the moon.
A lot of value from this Fey March. I know that we only got RD arrows from the Baron guards, but that Harp along with picking up that darkness crystal that Stone Dingley did not pick up yet, puts Galeswift at 10 key items. It also gives us potential music. Not required this time around, but I wouldn't be surprised if Galeswift chases that particular choice of his, chase his chain, and maybe find some pay dirt at the end of it. But first and foremost, we're going to Baron.
Shouldn't be too bad. I think with both teams, both runners having a foo, doing the Odin spot after, I think you want to do the Odin spot after freeing Baron. It makes the most sense too, since that is the requirement. And you don't want, and we're not sure. I mean, we could have surprise Blarg, and that's probably not the best place to show up, but it could be right here on the Baigan spot. Let's see who is at the Baigan spot. It is Wet Noodle, Canadian Wet Noodle, Ogopogo, everyone's favorite half HP lead-off attacker.
Yep, not too much of a challenge here. So as we see both of our runners head down Baron right now, I just want to call out the people behind the scenes making this happen. Calling out Neobari for rolling this fantastic seed and making sure it all works as it should. And also Whirling, pressing all the buttons. It's a lot more difficult being a tracker than some people think. I've tried it a couple times myself, and man, I keep on screwing up. But with that, Stone Dingley is through that Ogopogo. Probably likely going to head on down to take care of Baron Liberation first, because it's a little less risky than doing the Baron Odin Throne. Finding either Rubik counter elements, neither of which should be too much of a trouble with a fully powered food, or close to, and Galeswift hot on his heels.
It's quarter leg, but a nuke probably will solve what ails this spot. I mean, if you've already done the Val spot, this not so bad. This is one nuke and elements are fried. Time to see what's in the Baron pot. I don't know why they have a pot. I mean, I guess it's the way to hide the original airship terminal, but okay, it's whatever it is. And let's see if we get a Cecil or maybe Duke Fu. Oh, it's a Yang. Probably not coming to this party.
No, Yang actually would not be a bad pickup for Galeswift. And I say that because Galeswift is going to want an anchor eventually for the moon. Right now he doesn't have anything that fills that role. Ditch that Porum, pick up that Yang. Yang actually, at base level, not a bad anchor at all. And that Fu as well could be the anchor for Z at the very least. We do have a Crystal Ring, we have a Ninja Hat, getting Fu to 28 agility. Perfectly fine for his Aroma Strath, but not so much for the moon. Galeswift has an interesting decision coming up to him. But Stone Dingley, a step ahead here in Baron, about to check this pot and find that our key on it is a tower key.
Looks like we don't have to do the tower, but then doing keyless tower usually makes you feel bad until it doesn't make you feel bad with the tower key. So having that available, that might be on the table. But first of all, we want to probably finish up with doing the underground throne. We'll see what's at the Odin spot. Hopefully not too bad. I think, I mean, it makes, in terms of Yang at the Barretts at that spot, I mean, we have anchors. I think we know that the San Ruby anchor is Radia, so if that's done last, we know who the anchors. But for other matches, the other battles before that, I think I'm from like if at the very end, yeet the Porum, put in the Radia as the anchor, still would probably be a fair choice if we do need a desperate anchor at the very end of the game.
Well, one thing that I would argue, however, that it's important to have an anchor not just at the end of the game, but when you actually need an anchor, which would be the majority of moves, for example. Those spots very fast. Luckily today, Feymarch very free, so an anchor wasn't necessarily required there, but yeah, I find more value from having an anchor for the majority of the seed rather than just the very end. Here in the Odin Throne, we find Plague, a Lunar Sparkle. Not the Wyvern we were hoping for, but a generally free fight. The Edge and potentially the Cane may be bet RA1 based on that Sid anchor right there. So a couple berserkers, and we can watch those all count down to. No, let's say we're not going berserker strats here. We're going to have a sacrificial cane.
Go a little bit too fast is probably why the cane sacrifice is probably warranted. Don't Sid by himself will do the damage, but we can't get them all berserked. And look, an edge falls. We might kind of up praying for the food to survive, but no, that didn't quite happen. So, but we're gonna revive them and then reset the timer upon each revive, as Plague will just follow up with a count, because hey, not everyone has count, so, and that's what its battle script dictates. So once everyone is counted, then it starts to rerun its normal script. So we're gonna try to get everyone live before Sid takes Plague down all by himself, as Sid is the only one with the weakness that Plague fears.
Now, notably, if you'll notice, we don't have a Porum over there on Galeswift's side anymore. Did in fact take the Yang. So we'll see if Yang decides to take a nap here and become our permanent anchor, and we just go Berserk Strath with a Power Shirt, Artie Arrow, Artie Bow Rosa, and a cane with a defense sword. Or if we try to level up this Yang and go anchorless, eventually just deciding to make Fu our endgame anchor.
Interesting. I mean, you're just trying to buy some time to find a cursed ring for Fu to become the anchor and hope and gain the XP. It looks like the strat taking Plague down is to go full berserker, so we never end up at the zero. We never die on the zero countdown, as it is a kind of a fun trick to play on Plague, where count doesn't actually ever reach death status. It's just it's a quirk of the ATB. When you reach a certain, I think ATB 1, and with a slow enough anchor, a Plague can't kill you.
And with that, we are through Plague over here on the Stone Dingley side, and very shortly we'll be so on Galeswift's side. No particular key item from that one of value, but we did get an objective done for both of these runners. And Stone Dingley chasing that tower key that he found on the Baron throne. Wouldn't be too surprised if Galeswift heads up there, but he has additional options as well, potentially heading up to the moon with that darkness crystal that he spiked from Fate March, or chasing that twin harp that he got from the Asura spot.
Given enough seeds, I think you'd probably want to do as much on the overworld before doing the only objective on the moon. But I think it might actually still require an LST dive. Depends. We could kind of have fade LST, but if the seed roll is rolled that way, looks on Squid, an easy dispatchable Squid is at the cannon room, not a problem. Next stop is the top of the lower Babel Tower.
Now, I like what Galeswift is doing here, heading up to the moon. That doesn't mean he needs to commit to the moon right now. It doesn't even mean he needs to do Cave Bahamut. But I think he's very interested in the character that's waiting on that lunar subterranean altar. It could be the Cecil. He still had that forge burning a hole in his pocket right now. I'm sure he'd be very happy to eat a Yang right now in order to get a holy sword wielding paladin. And you don't want to leave that gated character check hanging around too long, because for all Galeswift knows, A Stone Dingley's already been up there and had an Excalibur swinging Cecil on his team time now.
Did Stone Dingley peak the Fey March spots? And I think because probably nope. No, if you didn't peak that, then you probably don't. Yeah, especially the spots being free, you definitely want to have peaked it. That's
well, he hasn't even gone down to the Fey March yet. He still hasn't gotten the freebie, which is the Darkness Crystal.
I think I guess that's going to be the follow-up routing to that. I mean, hoping to maybe get the Luca key as a follow-up to do Sealed Cave in at some point, so you don't have to come back to the underground. So that looks like a character swap. Looks like we're bringing back. Oh, we're just emptying them for maybe money? That's what it looks. I think we need money for something.
We are taking that palom, which we didn't take to begin with, and that palom will be our anchor for what appears to be a moon dive on Galeswift's side.
That's a very interesting decision. If I mean, palom hasn't been used. I mean, any character that is base level can be used, although ideally you'd have a Rydia. At level 1, Rydia has the lowest agility of all the starting characters, so it's easier to start with. The best anchor ideally is the one that has the lowest, but sometimes you can make do with a starting Yang. A little bit trickier with like a starting Kane or starting Cecil, particularly of the Paladin variety. But we're not going to use Cecil as an anchor at any given point because we have Burr ready at the handle. So that's definitely not going to happen.
I mean, not in this flag set, but I've definitely used Cecil as an anchor before in the past. He has his use. He's very versatile. Now, I'm interested to see that Galeswift is just diving Cave Bahamut right now, not even checking the LFT throne. May not be interested in the Cecil after all, or may have forgotten that he has Forge available to him. Very easy to forget sometime on his flag set when it's in a requirement. Instead, going to be taking out this very punchy spot, which is a Rubicon. Not exactly the boss you want to find here. Not too difficult, but his punches in between his glare stages will hit like a truck.
I think that was a weapon check for like an Ice Brand or Blizzard Spear, as that would make this battle a lot easier. I think looks like we're just gonna be jumping and reviving any character who dies. Looks like Rosa's gonna take it down. Okay, that's all right. Let's see how much DPS she does now. Jump will not invoke the counterattack. This spot's spell power is as weak as the standard Rubicon spot. So I don't think so. The glare will still wreck things, but but it's not that much worse. I mean, the punches are occasional, and the counters are real, and I guess it is kind of safe relative to a lot of things. This is, and with nuke with Fu, Rubicant, not too long for this world.
Nope, this should be a relatively painful fight for Kane, but overall doable. A Stone Dingley finishing up tower on the other side of the screen. Only got a Moon Veil from the top of the tower, so not the key item he was likely hoping for, but is rewarded with a self-summon by completing the Super Cannon room. Those are 2 zonks, not what you were hoping to see. Fully expect Stone Dingley to head on down to Feymarch shortly after, because he's kind of out of options right now. And we'll find that Darkness Crystal and probably have a little bit of a sinking feeling in his stomach, thinking, oh no, what if my opponent found this 30 minutes ago? Keep it.
Yeah. At least the fortunate part of the resulting thing is Stone Dingley will get 10th key item regardless. So I mean, of which boss spot he goes first. Probably do both boss spots since both bosses are very doable this early. So yeah, it's a little slow. The realization will happen as soon as darkness appears, and once that happens, when you find the key item, kind of last location, the key item from your checks, runners generally start to worry. Last locationing is a feeling bad moment, but yeah, and especially when if your opponent gets it first, and that's always the the back of any runner's mind. Like if they got it first, well.
Yep, but of course, Stone Dingley going to continue checking down here in the Feymarch before heading out and chasing that Darkness Crystal. We'll be probably a little happy yet a little worried to find out that Feymarch is also free, or at least pay to win. Just by making a little bit of a donation here at the shop at Feymarch for some coffins, and be wondering if Galeswift has already done this. Meanwhile, Galeswift, up on the moon, completes his objective. He has completed Cave Bahamut, objective number 3, and is rewarded with a Luka key. Again, not a requirement, but something waiting for him back on Earth to do eventually.
I think if Gale decides to go back onto Earth, it's going to just finish out the underground. You have the tower key and you have the Luca key. It's a good time to do underground if it's on the table. But it looks like we're gonna check. We're gonna do an LST dive because you wouldn't just spend the time to heal, regardless of who's on the altar. And
I disagree with that. So if we do find a Seth on the altar, I would fully expect Gale to head on back down to Earth and get that forge taken care of.
And just complete. Well, that for routing sense, sure. You have the power to be unlocked if you want to. So I guess that depends. Again, the altar, and we have a dupe cane. So that doesn't look like it's gonna happen. Don't think we'll take a second cane anyways. One cane's enough. At least I don't think we have enough equipment for a second cane.
Nope. I don't believe we do either. We have that one defense sword I believe we received earlier, and that's about it. So we are caned out for the time being, and Galeswift agrees, sending that cane back down to the Tower of Wishes and heading on down the lunar subterrane, hoping to find pay dirt, hoping to find a sand ruby, a hook, a pigtail. Those are the only 3 key items he needs for go mode, and he's deciding to do bottom up, which is mathematically the most likely way to actually find your key items. There's far more key items down at the bottom of the moon than there is up here at the top, and it takes less time to do them when they're all clumped together like that.
Yeah, there are not too many key items, and the key item that is really needed is the hook. The chances of pigtail being down here is still pretty high, but there's always been the rat tail to pinktail transition. So I think even if you're hoping for the pinktail not to be here, it's still going to be a grind. I mean, this might as well, if you're here, you might as well get your levels for Kane and Rosa to the levels where they can do their best. Especially Kane, because even if he's not going to be berserking, you want him alive and well to be a contributor.
No, absolutely. With your 10 key items that you have available right now, this is your grind. I don't care if you find sirens on the hook route or anything like that. You're expecting to walk out of this moon in your mid-40s, if not your early 50s. For everybody, except for maybe that Padawan. He can stay down.
Yeah, I think we can. I mean, when we have the Fu, we can use him as spike damage with nuke, or just use Rosa, just berserk her, give her Artemis, give her power shirt. You let her shoot things. Just let her shoot all the arrows she wants. And that may be more than enough. And Dr. Dialogue. I mean, yep, shouldn't be too bad. He'll be saying all the things, and then go through another phase after this phase. So the first phase, you ideally want to take down Luge, so Knob explodes. If you destroy Knob first, the Doctor will essentially reconstruct him by putting himself in his body and use him, and eventually that combination bulb Z will explode. And once that first part of the fight is completed, second part, not so bad. Dr. Luge doesn't punch, does essentially what effect amounts to be magic, and doesn't really hurt you, except for laser, which is only 1/5 of his max HP, which at this spot can still do some damage, except with the HP split, because there are effectively four bosses in one, and the plague spot, and the plague spot doesn't have as much HP as you think. Wouldn't be too bad, but seeing Rosa just punch, because I don't think she has any arrows left.
No, it's unfortunate. Ball Knob punch is far better than Rosa, as you can see. But yeah, you're right. This is not going the way that Galeswift hoped it would. Has to fight Phase 3 here of Ball Knob Z. And may have a little bit of difficulty if he doesn't get any Star Veils up or anything like that for the second phase, because down goes Rosa here. And notably, from Warlink, our tracker, as he points out in chat, Galeswift is hoping to get the full 200,000 experience from this particular location, but Dr. Luge has a split of XP because he has a split of forms. So you will not actually get the full 200,000 XP from this location, pretty much forcing Galeswift to go elsewhere for his grind.
Looks like we're just gonna retry this again. Yeah, some of that HP does get eaten up by the split. Like each individual boss technically has XP, which kind of eats into it. I think, and there's some math done to reduce to kind of split the XP amongst the bosses. So yeah, that's even if it's not the full 200,000, 150,000. I don't know the exact number of what's going to result in, but it's still decent. And this is usually one of the better spots for the instant XP bursts that you want on your character, especially Kain at the moment, and to a less extent Rosa.
But meanwhile, on the other screen, Stone Dingley giving us a rare Swagabo, taking the black chocobo down from Baron all the way up to Cave Magnes, where he is checking that twin harp that he received from full clearing the Fate March bosses. So, in a little bit, we're going to have to be quiet because it's time for everyone's favorite part of the seed, where we get to listen to music and they get to stop listening to us.
Certainly. The Swagabo is available at Baron when you've done the Big Whale Lift. Once you complete the event, that new extra Black Chocobo is made available to you in Baron.
Yep, not something we see very often. Unfortunately for a Stone Dingley, had no way to kill off that Sid prior to the actual fight, so we have to sit through the whole cutscene. And, we can't. Not with that attitude, you can't party. Come on, get back up.
And there's hundreds of songs, harp songs, because this is a randomizer. So we'll let DJ Spoony B do his thing, play us a tune.
That's a little unfortunate. I like the Actraiser music, especially the part from the city building rather than, the actual combat part. But it's over. Bahamut's gone. We find a pass. Not exactly a zonk. We love the pass. We love, heading into the secretive club in Troya and getting a one-way trip to Zaroma, saving us maybe 2.5 minutes from walking down the LST. But the entire music phase took about that same amount of time too, so really just a wash for a Stone Dingley. Better than a zonk, but not a key item we need. Makes me think that a lot of the key items we need are up here on the moon.
Yeah, I think Galeswift just picked up a Luca key, and so I think we're still doing the dive. I mean, we're still hard hook required, and chances are it could just be could be right under that. Let's see who's at the plague spot. I thought for a moment there, I thought we switched spots, and it's Blarg, of course. Who just surprises Seed other than Blarg himself?
So this is where you're happy that you have that level 10 Paladin sitting in the middle of your formation.
Yeah.
But now the party's going to have to recover from losing 3 of its members. And one thing I want to note about how the race has gone. As we now know, for the most part, all of the 3 remaining key items that we need, a hook, a sand ruby, and a pinktail, have to be somewhere on this moon, because we've checked every other location. Galeswift has faded 3 locations back on Earth: top of tower, tower key, and the cave manganese, none of which were actually required. So Galeswift is very likely to find, or pretty much guaranteed to find, his go mode, or his route to his go mode, up here on the moon.
Yeah, there are only this for Galeswift, but 3 spots left. This plague spot, Ogo, the Mur spot, and the Wyvern spot. So those, they really should contain whatever key items are left in the seed. So yeah, that could, and it is possible once they're all picked up. Yeah, it's kind of practically go mode. Just no, I mean, there's no reason to not finish your effective grind here on Lunar Subterrane. It's just, I mean, the XP is good. Why bother? Where else do you want to go?
Yep, so Galeswift has made what turns out to be this seed the right phase, and I think has a bit of a lead over Stone Dingley. However, what Stone Dingley does have is a second better Berserker than Galeswift does. That Rose is great and all with an arty bow, arty arrow, the power shirt, but she's no edge. So it'll be interesting to see how a Stone Dingley potentially catches up just on having a little more offensive physical power. But as it is now, Galeswift is up a few checks up here on the moon.
Yeah, Kane is certainly fine, but not quite edge level. Edge heavily depends. Here's a pink tail. Edge heavily depends on having 2 Hanzo Steel blades, or at least Hanzo Steel weapons of some sort. And but I don't think Stone Dingley's edge has any issues dealing damage. It's just as long as it's just kept upright. That's all. And as long as your Berserker is alive, it's they're doing damage. And Rosa usually not. I mean, can be good, but you'd have to take advantage of a lot of weaknesses of enemies through bow and arrow, if they exist or are available to take advantage of, and having the right arrow occasionally for some. So those things, outside of having like a stockpile of Artemis arrows, kind of slows her potential damage output quite a bit.
Yep, and let's see. So we have Dark Elf down here at the Mosamine altar. We're down to 3 altars remaining here on the moon for Galeswift. Just looking for 2 more key items. Did find that pink tail as you mentioned. So here's an interesting conundrum. Let's say you find the hook here at the Mosamine altar. You have a rat tail to turn in. You have a Lucid key to check. You also have top of tower, tower key and music, all of which we know are duds. But do you abandon the last 2 locations and check those locations you have back on Earth to try to find that last key item you need, a sand ruby?
I think just continuing the grind, especially we need for this group, at least the Galeswift has. It makes sense that you want to just get more levels on characters. So staying here makes a lot more sense. I'm not sure what you would want to do for Rosa. I mean, make her punch. I think more reflex strats would make more sense given the party that Galeswift has. It's going to be kind of hybrid. Let Kane smash and Rosa and Fu do the damage with reflected spells. That would be the most efficient way of, at least that I can see so far. That would be the best use of their time. So maybe I would maybe say differently for Stone Dingley. The levels are not necessary. For Stone Dingley, it might be the same for Stone Dingley but for a different reason. As you have the pass, so clearing compared to Gale, I mean, the pass says, hey, you can clear out the moon, no worries. When you're done, you can come back to Earth and go directly to Z when we're finished.
Well, looks like that's not going to come to play, though. The hook was not down here at Mosamine, just a Bahamut summon, so something you can sell for money if you really want it. But regardless, we're going to be checking these last two locations, the Crystal Sword Altar, warp it on up, save you a little bit of time here from Galeswift, and then probably exiting out to check the Murasame Altar. Meanwhile, A Stone Dingley beginning his LST dive. We'll see if he does top down or bottom up.
I'm thinking, like, if the hook is, like, say, behind Luca, that might be probably a kind of a time sink for Gales, because you have to decide between Luca or Tower, and one of them is certainly and we know that Tower is complete womp. So, but you have two checks, so you're gonna if the hook is not on the moon, then it means Galeswift might be in a bind, just to chase a hook.
Yep, if the hook is not up here, he may just then decide. Well, some people will say, I mean, there's been a maxim around the community: you chase your chains. So if you dedicate to your fades, you dedicated yourself to fade that tower. So some people would argue that in Galeswift's position, it would be the best course of action to chase what you found and continue to fade what you decided to fade in the past. So he decided to fade tower. He may decide to just chase that Luca. And Luca's actually a pretty nice check. You actually don't have to fight any bosses to figure out what the key item is down there. It takes about a minute and a half to walk down. It's not a large time investment compared to, say, something like Tower. Sure, it's 2 checks, but you're spending at least a good 5 minutes in that Tower for 2 checks versus 1.5 minutes in Cave Luca for 1 check. So it kind of makes sense, and I would not be surprised if Galeswift made that gamble heading down Luca, potentially finding the hook down there.
Yeah, certainly. Especially for key item checks, which is what we're looking for. Yeah, if you don't have to fight the boss to just check, then it's worth doing. And the sealed cave check is always one of those. Should I peek or should I not? And so just the information itself on any random seed is usually worth it, especially even if you were set out. So yeah, because you don't have, unless you're doing a boss hunt, but we're not doing a boss hunt. We're just looking for key items, and certainly favors the sealed cave check far better, and will pay off if that is the route Galeswift decides to go.
Now I'm projecting this out a little bit in the future, but A Stone Dingley is taking care of business here in the Ribbon Room, but has to go over next door, or will likely go over next door to that wyvern, which holds the pigtail in the White Spear altar shortly after. Now, Galeswift had something, and still has something that A Stone Dingley doesn't, which is an anchor. That wyvern is going to move pretty quick, and I don't know if A Stone Dingley had the agility set up right now to get a Star Veil off in time before that wyvern goes Blarg.
That's a good question. I mean, maybe the first thing to probably be for immediate reset out, and then probably swap Sid in the spot. Sid has gained a fair number of levels. Not quite sure if it's enough, but I mean, you're gonna have to find out when Blarg happens. It's the kind of panic move, but we have an edge, and edge should, compared to the anchor, would it be at this point 2.5 times faster than the anchor? That's the other part. Fu having effectively a fixed agility until level 70, and then that will change. But Sid is still even though he starts with a low agility, does grow agility. As slow as he is, he still gains agility, and that could be the wild card at that point. Most likely we'll see an immediate reset once the Blarg shows up.
Sure, but of course he's going to have to find a way to get through it, because that is a required pigtail behind that wyvern. And that is a spoon behind the Crystal Sword altar, so again, no pay dirt whatsoever for Galeswift at this Crystal Sword altar. It very well could be that there's nothing left here on the moon. We have 1 check left, which is the Murasame altar, but if we don't find a Sand Rupee, if we don't find a hook, then we know, at least up here in the booth, that all of the answers lie behind that Luca cave.
Yeah. Home of the Evil Wall. Have we even seen Evil Wall this seed? I don't think so. Might be.
I think he was on Tower.
Oh, it was on top. Okay, well then. We'll see. We'll see. Looks like Galeswift is designed to finish off the Luna Subterrane, because you're already here. You've done Cave Valley. You've done everything else. You might as well. And if it's not what you want, you just reset out. We just save. So save scumming will happen if what we find is not what we want. Although chances are it will be either the Hook or the Sand Ruby. Either way.
And as you predicted, Stone Dingley walked in, saw that wyvern, reset out, and is ignoring it. That's great for Galeswift and unfortunate for Stone Dingley. That Pinktail is hard required this seed, but Stone Dingley's going to have to find a way to double back and take care of that fight. And we found Gauntlet. If you wanted to grind, how about a second grind?
Who doesn't love grind? Well, this is good for multiple reasons. Rosa will certainly learn White, and Kane will, be a lot bit more useful. He'll still be under Berserk, still be smashing everything, but this might take a little bit of time. But when you have Fu, you're not really worried. I mean, if you're in dire need, you'll probably we still have a stone, an hourglass available. Probably use that on more dangerous bosses. Like I think we do get a King Ryu in Gauntlet on this spot. So, but this spot isn't too bad. I mean, there are worse places to find Gauntlet, like Ogo spot or even Wyvern spot. So there aren't enough nasty places where Gauntlet can show up. And hey, here's my grind.
Yep, I'm fully expecting Rosa and Kane here to be very happy with their levels by the time they are through this alt gauntlet. So even if it is a zonk, it's not a waste of time, and I'm glad that Galeswift decided not to reset out of it, as some people may be tempted to do, because as it is a bit of a time investment. And we will actually, I'm very happy to know as well by the end of this that we will have complete knowledge of where the puzzle remains, the remaining pieces remain for this puzzle that is this seed. Again, very happy to see that Palom on the ground right there. We have our anchor pure, our anchor pristine for the remainder of this seed. And at this point, I don't even know if Galeswift, if he happens to find a Cecil, which only could be behind the giant, or the Hook route, if he even takes him. I'm thinking probably no. What do you think?
If you don't have Cecil before this second grind, that's not happening. It's just not. You don't put a second thought unless you get it early enough where their levels are like even at best mid 30s. It's not happening. It's too late. And given that what we know, what bosses and key items that are left on the table, Stone Dingley knows this wyvern is hard. Is at least the bosses left that he has to face is hard required, one way or the other.
So unfortunately for Stone Dingley, dropped battle speed down to 6 and was still unable to outspeed that wyvern. That is that's very unfortunate. Maybe almost impossible right now, mathematically, for Stone Dingley to get a Star Veil off in time if he can't get anybody to RA1 over that Fu. Was able to. Looks like Kane is just fast enough, just a little out of position. But good on Stone Dingley for pretty much figuring out this fight. Will be likely through it, assuming he had enough life potions for life potion roulette, and 20 is more than enough in this situation. And will find his Pinktail, won't be leaving this one behind.
Yeah, there's a reasonable chance that you can avoid some of the damage from nuke. It's unlike Mega Nuke that depends on the initial spot's spell power. The nukes that fall up have effectively a fixed spell multiplier, much weaker than the Mega Nuke would suggest. So it's a survivable phase, although it also require a full heal on top of the revive. So the roulette with the Fu getting the Cure 4, Fu will probably get a few more opportunities to survive a straight up nuke, reflected nuke. So, and The thing and keeping Fu up, probably the more important heal, as Fu still has all the magic and all the power to make Wyvern's day a little bit nicer, with a quake.
So we saw a wipe over on Galeswift's side. Unfortunately, the very last fight of the alt gauntlet. That grind is gone. Galeswift is cutting his losses, heading back to Earth. Let's just hope for Galeswift's sake that there is nothing valuable behind that alt gauntlet. If there is a Sand Ruby, if there is a hook, I think Galeswift is committing to fading that until the very last check at this point.
Yeah, that's I got missing. I was paying attention to Stone Dingley's fight. Completed, getting the pigtail. Looks like we're doing the underground as a whole, and Galeswift was quickly find out after completing both parts of the tower, the super cannon room and the top of Lower Babel, that at least one of the key items will be required is certainly at Sealed Cave. If at least one of them. There's only the hook or the Sand Ruby, and there's also the hook. Getting the hook will give the opportunity to get the rat, whatever the rat tail gives, which could also be the Sand Ruby. So
absolutely.
Hook.
So everything could be behind that Murasame altar that Galeswift just decided to fade, and that would be devastating for its chances to win this race.
Yeah, not failing to complete one thing can kind of hinder the race. Depends on what the key item kind of resides there. As D-Lunars with a punchy group, maybe a little tricky. I'm not sure. This is which spot. This is the Wyvern spot. So don't think the virus is going to be the threat here. Actually, it's actually a pretty favorable spot for these berserkers. Actually.
Yep, Stone Dingley is showing off his knowledge of the game, knowing that if there are any positions where you want to actually trigger the virus script rather than being punched, this is one of them. Virus is doing maybe 400, 500 damage total to his party just due to the exceptionally low magic power of this location. So good on Dingley, of course, for demonstrating his knowledge of the game and executing very well.
When D-Lunars are by themselves, they use fire as a counterattack, which at this point suddenly the battle has changed. You probably could just let Sid do Sid things. Probably be good enough. Let Edge do it, and you see that Avenger getting swapped out because Avenger by itself doesn't do enough damage. Kane is not high enough on the multipliers, even though we got the early power shirts, but it's not like Kane, unless you have a Dragoon Spear. Kane's contributions are kind of dwarfed by Sid with the Artemis arrows, and you might as well, if you have a counter sensitive boss, you probably want to just characters that do significantly less damage. Let them parry if you have to, or let them parry or use a potion. Just don't let them slow down your battle.
Yep, that's a great explanation of a term that's been going around the free enterprise community a little more often lately, mostly from Possum Morpheus and Martin Broadcloak, which is action economy. Limit the amount of actions to generally just try to maximize the benefits and maximize the performance of your party. Just because you have 4 players and just because they all can take an action doesn't mean they need to.
Yeah, not everyone's turn is about equal. Some, like if you have like a mute knife on an edge with whatever additional weapon, probably be more useful, especially if you're doing an Azure fight or a Maga Sisters fight, probably be more useful than say maybe an Edward. Maybe with Edward, even if he had like say bow and arrow, with Zerk would probably need adamant or power robe. Edge would probably be more effective, but if it's early game, any contribution is fine. But if you're doing not enough noticeable damage, probably not worth it. Just skip their turn. Like there are other useful things to do on a character's turn. And sometimes doing nothing is the answer.
Especially if it's Edward. Now, Stone Dingley heading on down to Murasame. There will be a temptation potentially on Stone Dingley's part to see that all gauntlet and be like, you know what, I've got my grind. This is unlikely to be anything. I'm out of here. But I don't think he will. I think he's going to stick through this, and we're going to get an answer as to whether or not fading that Murasame was the right move for Galeswift or not.
Yeah, when races like this come down to the wire, it's basically right now it's the decision made to avoid it after falling. I mean, it can be the difference. So we'll find out one way or another from either when they complete the battle at hand, or at least the objective at the last location. At least as viewers, we know, they don't know what's still left and what is still on the table. So yeah, being in this is almost no for us. It's possible go mode for one or the other. It's certainly we don't know enough to be in no mode yet. Just one more piece of information to determine who has the advantage for the Z fight.
Yeah, buckle up, folks. We're going to know in about 90 seconds who is in the lead here. But right now, none of us can actually tell. Will it be Galeswift? Will there be a hook down here? Or will it be a Stone Dingley, either finding a hook or a sand ruby up there in the Murasame altar? Galeswift has an out. A hook here at the Luca Cave, immediately going into a sand ruby from the Rat Tail turn in. But that is his only out at the moment.
It's always an interesting exercise. I think a lot of close races come down to one decision over another. So just, did you do this before that, or did you do that, or did you do something else completely different that changes like the thinking of the routing that's going on? And from a party perspective, I think Galeswift, if the party's still effective, but like it's not quite fully mage and not quite fully not even like berserker. Like Rosa's not a great berserker, and it's the hook. This may save Chaos unless Sand Ruby is at the other spot. I mean, Rat Tail could lead into Sand Ruby, and if it is literally Rat Tail into Sand Ruby, Galeswift has a major lead.
Yeah, this is very exciting right here. That could have been anything other than hook, and we would know who generally had a commanding lead in this race. But until a Stone Dingley finishes this all gauntlet, we will not actually know. That's exactly what Galeswift needed, of course. This is a fight he will have no problem doing. This hope you like the sound of slow, because that is the song of Paladin's people. But generally a quick fight and a quick warp out. Hopefully Stone Dingley doesn't have trouble with this double King Ryu fight like Galeswift did. But we're going to know very shortly. Very exciting.
So wouldn't the Song of Plague be fast, as he just keeps casting fast on everyone? I mean, is that an interesting pair? The dragon that casts slow and the one-eyed beast casting fast. I mean, this is free enterprise lore. What is it?
I guess it would either be the sound of fast or the sound of count. I tend to hear count a bit more often, but it could go either way for the Song of Plague's people.
Yeah, and it shouldn't be too long. King Ryu's of one of the rare regular enemies that doesn't have like max defense like a lot of flan monsters have to, but they tend to have and here's the Sand Ruby. So whatever Rat is definitely not going to be is not going to be resulting in the key item that Scale needs, and it won't and we know that Pass is not in is a part of the Twin Harp, so that's not happening. But that could happen, given that we're Gale's still chasing, and that is one of the last things that has not been completed. But obviously the best thing to do is hope whatever the turn-in provides some benefit, either the key item, but obviously we know it's not. So we're gonna get Adamant plus something not Adamant, or maybe it is Adamant.
Oh, a nice little Bacchus. Always useful, I guess, but not what we're looking for here, and not what Galeswift was hoping for. Galeswift at this point had the choice between Cave Magnes, which is the pass, or heading back up to Alt Gauntlet, finishing it, and getting his Sand Ruby. If I was in Galeswift's shoes, I would probably assume that I'm not going back to Alt Gauntlet. I faded it. I'm going to save it for last, which is unfortunate. Stone Dingley finding that Sand Ruby now has a commanding lead. Yep, we're going to get a second reprise of music, which I'm sure we will be very happy to hear here in the audience, but Galeswift a little less than happy with the outcome. But yeah, at this point, it is a race for Stone Dingley to lose.
It might have been a thought, if this is the bet, right? If Gale believes, we know he's going to Harp because he thinks Sand Ruby's there. If Sand Ruby is if Sand Ruby's here, we still have to do the package and Sand Ruby, which means you still have to be on the Earth. So this is actually, I was thinking it was going to go the other way, but since we have the Sand Ruby package that's still left, you're going to be stuck on the Earth and I guess in fighting the pass will help a little bit, but not soften the blow, because then Gale knows, yes, it's completely on Alt Gauntlet, no questions asked. So yeah, that's. If it were the other way, if Sand Ruby and package were not on the table, it would just be a straight dive into the moon. Hope Sand Ruby's there. Although then you still have to go back. If there was another objective not Sand Ruby, then it would just be the altar and then go to the Swag Rock immediately after. But that's not going to happen. And Stone Dingley has reached go mode.
Yep, Stone Dingley, our first racer in go mode at 1 hour, 32 minutes, and 55 seconds. Generally just has to go turn in that rat tail, turn in that Sand Ruby, turn in that pink tail. I'm sure he'll be very happy to find his first Adamant Armor of the Seed. And we'll have a pass to leverage, so we'll be in Z relatively shortly. Galeswift, however, giving us a second reprise of the music, so it's time for DJ Spoony B to spin his rockin' tunes yet again, and time for us to take a little break. Another quick and easy fight for Galeswift here at the Cave Magnes. Will be rewarded with his pass and suddenly have a sinking feeling in his stomach. Certainly won't reset out of that. That pass is a nice little alternative reward here, but yeah, I'm sure Galeswift feels a little behind at this point.
Well, when you take a wipe at the very last stage of Alt Gauntlet, it is time you wished you really had back. It's just, it can't, like a lot of things where you say you don't save and you do multiple things and forget, and then you take a wipe. Any wipe set, that depends on how bad the wipe is. It can set players back quite a bit, and this is unfortunate. Where the realization, if I had survived at the Alt Gauntlet, I would have had it right then and there. But But you still have, but at that point, you still have to find where the hook was, which obviously is at Luca, Sealed Cave, and yeah, I'm sure it'll be worth a question when we ask if Galeswift takes an interview.
Sure. And Galeswift, of course, heading back on down to the Murasame altar. We'll be fighting this all gauntlet with fervor, but A Stone Dingley, however, now in go mode, has his crystal in hand, and we'll be heading up to Zeromus soon. So Galeswift markedly behind at the moment, probably by a few minutes. Probably needs a little bit of help from Stone Dingley, maybe a wipe or two to this Zeromus fight, and I'm not sure if it's going to happen. Bit of power on Stone Dingley's side right now.
One of the interesting early game decisions was from Gales. Hey, did peek for the edge and decided not interested, or I don't think would. And so I think it kind of manifested itself with some certain difficulty with certain bosses. Although I think Stone Dingley just has had many problems. I think Wyvern probably being one of them, where you just needed someone to punch at Wyvern, or at least get through Wyvern through, with Foo's Quake, and that I'm not saying it's hard to. It's a good question. Maybe a question. What's the question? Why avoid package? Why it just even I think the edge could have been an interesting change, but decisions made, and it's worth thinking about party composition, especially end game, where could there have been a better character at this slot sometimes when you do a race, or at least just run a seed? Could a character made life a little bit easier in some parts?
Yep, plenty of questions to ask at the point of the interview, but we have another question to ask right now. I'm seeing a lot of Z flags in the chat. Deathlike, do you have any idea what chat's interested in?
I don't know. I think they want us to take enough. They think we're tired. We had to restart the race. Roll a different seed. It assumes they were too tired to do something. But no, it's the question everyone is asking. Zeromus likes to cosplay boss that doesn't move, but the question, what kind of cosplay costume Zeromus likes is whose butt we're going to kick tonight. And there's always fun questions, side questions that go with that, like, does it even have a butt? Are there more than one butt? Does it? How does butt feel?
I'm not sure we'll answer the last one, but here it comes regardless. Zeromus tonight is multiple butts.
I do not recognize this set of bosses. I'm sure this is certainly there's a lot of butts in the rotation, and this is at least reasonably pretty in the artwork. This is I enjoy this for sure.
Well, you can tell that's Ifrit on the left, Shiva on the bottom right, Ramu on the top. 3 common summons from the Final Fantasy series. From which game? I don't know. Apparently, World of Final Fantasy, according to K Fiddle here in chat, and I believe it. Sure. But yeah, multiple butts tonight, and we have a nerf out on Stone Dingley's side. This Zeromus fight is underway. We're going to Berserk Strat. I'm not the least bit surprised. It's very effective. Look at those HP levels. Nobody is in danger here. And this is just going to be textbook from Stone Dingley's side.
Yeah, I don't think we even... there was probably a nerf, so this should be fine. And we'll probably not even have to worry about a second Big Bag too much. Even if Fu goes down, the Berserkers will still hack at Z, no problems, no issues. With an Edge contributing a lot, we have Spoon pretty late, so and a lot of other wonderful darts, because throwing sharp objects at final boss is always a good thing. Steve. quickest way to DPS. And when you're out of ammo, just Berserk Edge. Call it a day.
Yep, sharp objects like that spoon. I mean, that spoon is a deadly weapon. Edward knows how to kill a man 800 different ways with a spoon, and knows how to kill Zeromus one way at least. But nope, this is a ton of damage coming out. I don't believe that Edge is back road, however, so this Berserk may not be as effective as the other two characters going on, but regardless, this fight should be pretty textbook for Stone Dingley. Meanwhile, Galeswift back for revenge. The final two King Ryus had an Hourglass 2 for it, and will not make the same mistake this time around.
Was it like one of their starting hourglasses? I don't remember if it was a shop, but that having an Hourglass 2, especially for really bad alt gauntlets, it can turn the tide. Like you don't want to wipe, especially towards the end of an alt gauntlet. It's time spent, time wasted, and time consumed. So it shouldn't be too long before King Ryu's, with their higher than average defense, and there it is. That completed. Big and Stone Dingley not too far from a big bang boom disappearing. It's not too far.
And there we go. At 1 hour 41 minutes and 15 seconds, Galeswift is also in go mode. But unfortunately, it appears to be just a little too late to catch Stone Dingley in this situation. Stone Dingley, about done with his fight, does encounter a black hole, however, that will slow him down a little bit. And at the same time, too, all his characters at a little bit of a critical HP. Each one could go down to a unnerfed Big Bang if it happens to go off, but I think Stone Dingley had this one under wraps.
Yeah, it's just definitely not back row glitched. Usually, and one of the things with the back row glitch is if you don't have weapons that are back row compatible, like in Edge's case, a boomerang, you just essentially you lower your accuracy by half, which effectively translates into half damage. There could be a little bit more on average, but even then, half damage, especially on Edge, it's not as great. But Bacchus Wine will solve a little bit, as that increases your damage by 50%. That should be enough to get at least some of the effect of being in the back row.
And on Stone Dingley's side, rocks fall, nobody dies, couple more hits, a flashy nuke from Boo, and Stone Dingley has completed this seed with an official time of 1 hour, 42 minutes, 36 seconds, winning this very close match against Galeswift. And we'll see if we can get him in for an interview shortly.
Yeah. GG's to Stone Dingley.
And speaking of shortly, congratulations, Stone Dingley.
Hey, thank you.
So, walk me through that early game.
After all the technical difficulties, I was pretty frazzled. So I just kind of did a lot of the same things I did the first time around while I was still trying to get my bearings. Luckily, that Earth Crystal meant looting was super short and sweet, and I wasn't going to get too hurt by anything with those crystal rings and protect rings and power shirts. Besides that, I think I just remember it going pretty smoothly.
Yeah, that loot was a berserker's dream. 2 power shirts, and with the early not so great characters, easily swapped in. You got a lot of berserk help right after.
For sure, having that extra power made it so that I wasn't worried about whatever I was going to run into on Earth. I probably took ordeals a little earlier than I normally would have, just because I was like, you know what, it's gonna be fine with this party.
Now, one bit of divergence between you and your opponent Galeswift is that you saw that package, you took that package, and you took that edge early on. What was going through your mind when you took that? What was your reasoning?
Well, first it was, oh gosh, I have to turn the Sand Ruby in later. I really hope I want this character. Oh good, it's an edge. I really want this character. He's definitely the strongest berserker I think I would have had at the time. I already had some items for him in my inventory. I figured, you know what? Yeah, just this is going to speed up going through. At that point, I knew it was in Zot, so I could use the firepower.
Well, it definitely paid off for you. Did you feel behind at any point, like when you were clearing out things underground, maybe did that tower a little early?
Oh, yeah, when that tower turned out to be nothing at top and at the key room, I figured, ooh, if my opponent decided to go to that Fey March and pick up that darkness early, especially since I didn't know who the character on the moon was, this could be real bad for me.
And I think that actually did happen, but unfortunately through routing, there was a late lower Babel dive, so that I think that evened out on its own. But that late darkness. I mean, did you think of doing Fey March at any point a little bit earlier than you did? Because I think you just kind of effectively last locationed Fey March.
I tend to like to leave Fey March until I'm pretty sure I'll be able to take whatever I find down there. Little did I know that it was 2 free bosses and a shop that sells coffins.
Super convenient, I'm sure.
Yeah, Fey March was definitely paid to win today.
Absolutely. It's nice to life glitch up a couple of those guys so get some experience before I headed straight to the moon.
And speaking of that moon, I have one question regarding that alt gauntlet. Was there any temptation whatsoever to fade it once you saw it, thinking that it may just not have everything you need? Maybe Luca into Rat Tail had your go mode and alt gauntlet was too much of an investment, or were you just committed to it?
I was committed to it. I definitely felt that with so few checks left on Earth, going to Luca, it's like if it didn't have everything, then I don't want to have to reset and come back here because it's a long fight. And I saw that Galeswift had some difficulty towards the end, and I feel that because I almost did with Avenger Kane getting those entangle counters. If one of them had hit my Artie Arrow Sid, I probably would have wiped too.
Yes, the surprise King Ryu duel. Yeah, that's I think that's also the same fight that made Gale's is a little bit not so great. So yeah, this doing any sort of alt gauntlet that late and being your second grind, not that you needed it, could turn pretty quickly. Don't think I have any other questions. Rybon?
So, Dingley, this moved you to 3-0 in your group, the Karate Geek group. I know in bracketology you were picked to be the favorite. Did you expect to be at 3-0 at this point in the tournament?
Expect? No. Hope? Definitely. My first tournament, that I think it was ZZ3, I ended up doing pretty well in my group and busting everybody's brackets. Being on the other side, when it's not as much fun when people expect you to do well, because then it's like, oh, I preferred being the underdog, but I'm definitely, I can't say that anymore. Now I'm more empathetic towards the people I'm playing against. Like, man, I kind of hope they win.
I mean, you could always make that happen, but that didn't happen today.
Oh, but I would not want to be condescending. They could, except for a couple things with that wipe it all gauntlet, I think this was a very close race. Could have really gone the other way.
Absolutely, it was exceptionally close. And Galeswift played a heck of a race, and I'll be sure to let him know when we get him in here for an interview as well. But with 3 races under your belt, I believe you have 2 more left in the Karate Geek group. Do you have your next race scheduled yet?
Not yet. We're waiting until this next week when scheduling reopens up again so that we just don't have all the games packed together in the first week and then just a week off.
Well, then I'll certainly be watching the schedule to see when your next race pops up for future free enterprise entertainment. But any final thoughts?
Just I want to extend another heartfelt thank you to Galeswift because I was the one who had the technical difficulties, and he was extremely kind, decided that we could start the seed over, try a new one. because that would have been a crazy amount of time to try to make up, and he's just a great sport, and I really appreciate it.
Absolutely. Excellent sportsmanship from Galeswift today. But very much appreciate both you and Galeswift volunteering to be restreamed this evening, or allowing us to restream and watch your race. Both of you put out a heck of a show, and I hope to see you around next time as well.
Thank you guys so much.
GG's against Stone Dingley. Great race that you ran. And it looks like shouldn't be too far off from finishing. I think the reflex strats are in full force. Right, with Kane, I guess, doing potion duty, we probably want the Rosa back up to field the damage. I guess Kane being a potion guy today, and that's okay. Being the chemist, when your mages need all the healing magic damage to reflect onto Zeromus is certainly a difficult feat, especially in this flex set where 4 characters, and you probably have to turn down your battle speed a little bit to try to get in your spells without too much delay.
So yep, Galeswift going with the reflex strats. Very effective, maybe a little slower than the Berserk strats, but a few more nukes, a few more whites, and he should be through as well. This unnerfed Big Bang coming out, however, could kill the Fusoya. And one interesting thing about this fight, Galeswift decided to cash in all of his excess money to buy a ton of Soma drops. So that Fu normally can be a bit of a detriment on reflex strats, only having 190 base magic points, only allowing you to cast 3 nukes, 3.8 nukes. Well, in this case, had over 300 MP, and that well served him because that final nuke here takes down Zeromus, and Galeswift has finished with a time of 1 hour, 51 minutes, and 46 seconds. Galeswift, congratulations, and well done finishing that race.
Thank you.
So, real rough time on that alt gauntlet. I have to ask, what was going through your mind when you took that wipe? Were you just like, I just have to fade this, I've invested too much time, or I have too many checks back on Earth?
Yeah, so I figured the only way I could get back is if the alt gauntlet didn't have a key item, and my opponent actually did the alt gauntlet, and in that case, hopefully it would have been a wash if the hook and the sand ruby were back in underground. But yeah, it was really unfortunate for a lot of reasons, but you have to make the best with what you got. So I decided to still keep going and fade it in the hopes that I could still make up the time somehow.
In the early game, I think you got the package, and I think you took a peek. What was the thinking behind not getting the package character?
I already had the defense sword for Kane, and I had the arty bow and berserkers, people that could cast berserk, and I wasn't sure if I was going to be able to get enough gear for Edge. I kind of was not really looking to do a lot more looting. And I figure a defense sword for Kane would probably carry me through the rest of the seed, and I really was hoping not to sit through that package cutscene, especially considering that I knew it was an objective, but I could cut out at least half of it. So I feel like in the end, it's probably okay. I don't think I would have been able to use the dart. I know that there was, at least I had a Mura, but I didn't have really much else. I had like a long sword, and a defense sword on Kane was also pretty good. So I was like, well, if I'm really struggling for characters, maybe I can go back and get it. But at the time, I thought that maybe my opponent will also go for the edge, and I could save some time and not do it.
But you still did a good job regarding the character that you did have. That Rosa, very versatile, served as both Berserker and White Mage, and even White Caster for you for the remainder of the seed. So you leveraged very well what you had available, and you did show a lot of skill and knowledge of the game, remembering to pick up that Pelham, so you had that anchor available to you on the moon. So that showed a lot of maturity to me.
Yeah, I was definitely worried about anchoring. I kept hoping for a curse ring here and there so I could at least have a character up, because Fu can be a pretty good anchor if you have to, or Rosa. But in the end, yeah, Rosa really always a solid addition to the party. I'm always happy to see Rosa. was kind of swapping anchors. Even at the end, I picked up Rydia just for the super anchor potential, since her level 1 is pretty strong as an anchor. And then I wasn't sure if I was going to go reflect strats at the end or try to go for kind of more hybrid strats. But I felt like with Kayn being the only Berserker and Rosa not being great on damage, especially since I shot away my Artemis arrows at some point, I felt like reflect strats were probably the safer route.
But you definitely did it with a 370 mana food. That's a first for me. I've never actually seen that before. You really like your Soma drops.
Yeah, Soma drops are the rich person's Ether 2s, right? It's just like you just buy them ahead of time, and I had so much cash, I figured it'd be funny to do it.
Yeah, very fancy food today. Another question for you, though. So this loss, unfortunately, drops you to 1-1 in the Karate Gi group. What do you have coming up? Do you have an additional race already scheduled?
Don't have any races scheduled today. I'm hoping to schedule some this week and maybe pick up some more wins. Here's hoping that there's no more all continents on the moon I have to run into.
Well, I'll drink to that. Well, shortly after the race, of course. But regardless, you played a heck of a race this evening. Nearly pulled off the win. You definitely showed prior to this particular race, like we did a lot of asyncs together. We did a lot of pickup races together. I saw you take down some very big names, so I still have high expectations for you, even though you came up a little short today. But regardless, what are your thoughts going forward? Do you think I'm sure you hope to make the brackets. Do you have the expectation?
Yeah, I hope so. I think I have some weak spots for sure, depending on the type of seed it is. I'm not as strong as a lot of these other runners that can kind of handle everything. But if the seed kind of lines up correctly and is not too rude, then I think I have a really good shot.
I'd agree with that. Finishing how you did in the Pink Puff League, just remember, if you do make the brackets, you'll be disqualified from the Pink Puff League next season. So don't let that stop you, of course, but just something to keep in mind. Deathlight, do you have any questions or further questions for Galeswift?
Just had one last question. Early Earth Crystal probably dictated where you wanted to go next, right? I mean, you had a lot of good loot. I mean, and was that a drive to not doing package as well? Or would it have changed if you did not do Earth?
Yeah, so if I didn't have Earth and I started with a package and I saw the Edge, I would definitely have taken the Edge. But when you get like 2 power shirts and an Artie bow and you have a Rosa, it kind of like reduces, I think, the need for having that package check because it is so long. And again, I was trying to gain leverage because I know Stone Dingley is such a strong racer that I was looking for any kind of advantage I can get. And I felt like maybe they'll take the package check and then maybe I can get some time back from that. Yeah,
certainly. The routing from packaged into San Ruby makes a lot of sense. The cost of Edge, I guess it's at the time things change, so I can understand that. And that was a very good race, and also very gracious in letting the reroll around redoing the match because of earlier technical difficulties. So good games again, Gail.
Good games. Yeah, thanks everyone. Thanks to everyone that was helping to commentate and restream, of course, and to everyone's helping to set up the races for us.
And thank you very much for allowing us to feature you on Restream. Played a hell of a race, and I look forward to watching more.
Thank you, guys.
All right, and with that, I believe we are done here on Free Enterprise 1, but we are not done with Free Enterprise or Adamant Cup races for this evening. No. We'll be raiding on over to Free Enterprise 2, which currently has a Gaia Hat group race between Klopfer and X-Pancraz. So, of course, no spoilers allowed. I mean, you can let them know that a race happened, but don't give them any detail on that. And enjoy the race over there. There'll be more races later this evening as well, so keep an eye out on the Free Enterprise family channel, or channel family of networks, and we look forward to seeing you next time. So, Deathlike, very much appreciate you commentating with me again. Neobari, again, of course, rolling this fantastic seed, and Warlink pressing all the buttons. We'll see you all next time.
That was a lot of fun, Rabon, and I hope to see you all next seed. hope to do more co-coms with you again.